So we are going to take this image that has been already made here. This is just like a double exposure type image made with this image and this image using some layer masks to combine these two, and a gradient map adjustment layer with this black and white adjustment layer over top, just to kind of tweak the colors and how they react with our gradient map. And I actually like it, I think, now that I'm looking, better without that. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so we are going to take this image as a starting point, and if you want to see how we put this together, there's a different tutorial on that. But we're going to add a texture onto this. So we are going to take a texture of some sort here. Let's say this one. It looks maybe a little less obvious, like a good texture to use for this. And so let's try and do something with it. Okay, I'm gonna hold Option, and I was holding Shift to maintain the proper aspect ratio, but I'm not really concerned about that because we're just using this as the texture, and it's not like recognizable things that are being deformed. But if it was a picture of a person or a thing in particular, you usually would want to not alter the aspect ratio like that, right? Okay, so the main idea here, first I'm just going to take these four that are making up the main image here, okay, and I'm going to put them into a folder. Okay, I'm going to call this the duotone image, and I'm going to take this. Oh, this was already in an image. All right, I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. This I'm just going to take out of this folder. That's what I wanted. Okay, so just so we can hide these away, make it a little more obvious what we're doing here. So you can sort of think of this as just one image here now, right? You could do this texture technique with any image. All right, so we're going to turn this on, and so here's the basic idea. By changing the blending modes, I can change how these two images are being displayed together. Okay, and what I want to do though, I'm going to take this color dodge idea because this looks kind of interesting, I think. Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe we'll do this multiply one. Okay, so the way multiply usually works, right, is that it takes the whiter areas, the lighter areas become more transparent. So what I'm going to do is take this layer, this image, and I'm going to do a levels adjustment on this. And by making this area brighter, it's going to change how this is going to react when we apply our multiply effect. Okay, so let's take a look at this now. Now, in order to apply our blending mode now, to change it, you'll see if I apply it here, multiply, that's changing this levels adjustment. Okay, and if I apply it to this one, it's not really going to have the same effect either, because it sort of works, I think. But what I'm going to do, let's see the difference. We'll see. Okay, so let's make a note of what that looks like. The idea here, we're going to take both of these, put them inside of another folder, and this one's on normal, this one's on normal, and now we're going to put this on multiply. There we go. Okay, so that does look significantly different, right? And the reason I want to do it this way also is so that I can do other modifications to this layer and adjust how this texture is going to work inside here. So, for example, let's say we can use this layer mask here and use our brush. And we're going to use a soft edged brush in here so that the edges are not really obvious. And you'll see here as I paint in, oops, let me get out of that menu. Okay. Where's my brush? There we go. Okay, let's make this brush bigger. And there we go. Let's go to our default colors here, black and white. I want to click right in this area. And if I can, it's a little laggy here. Okay, you'll see whenever let's change the opacity all the way up. If I paint in here, I'm blocking off this levels adjustment, right? So that when I make adjustments, the only areas affected are the areas that are white on there, okay? And so let's go back and I can just paint this part back in here. And I want to, if anything on that idea, I want to do the other way around maybe, so that the edges were painted. And let's try this. Okay, so we're brightening the center and leaving the texture more around the edges. Okay, this is sort of one way we could kind of do this. I'm going to disable this. Another idea, we could turn down the opacity of this folder. Okay, and change how that's going to be applied. We could also just change the mode, the blending mode here. And again, we can use our levels adjustment to change how this is interacting, how these things are interacting. Okay, we're getting lots of color shift going on here, right? We can see this like yellow and these pinks and this blue down here. And those were not in the original image. So if we don't like the way that's happening, we could tone that down because that's coming from this image, of course, here. Let's turn the opacity back up, right? This image itself has some like yellow tones up here. And so that just makes sense that they're going to kind of show through with this other image, right? So let's, inside here as well, we're going to convert this to black and white. And that is going to get rid of those color shifts and also actually give us a way to change how those colors are reacting. So now we've got this combination of this levels adjustment and this black and white adjustment. So we were seeing like these yellow shifts. So you see when I'm adjusting the yellow, I'm changing how those are mixing with the other layers. And I'm going to guess this all seems sort of complicated here in terms of figuring out what setting is going to do what and all that kind of stuff. And try not to worry too much about that, because that's going to come with just practice and experience. And I'm definitely not super great at predicting how particular blending modes are going to work with certain layers and things like that. But it's not, the awesome thing is it's just so instantaneous. You can see what it's doing and change it if you don't like it, right? And try things out and experiment and see what works. That's how you're going to learn how things are working in here. I mean, you could read a book on exactly which, I'm sure there's one somewhere that tells you exactly what each one of these things do, but and that might be helpful, but I think for me, the way I learn, it's going to be a lot easier to just try it out and see what it does. Okay, so on this folder, I'm going to apply a layer mask as well. And by changing this thing, right, I'm going to be able to change how much of these images are showing through. Okay, and I'm going to bring the opacity down on this. I'm going to switch to white now, and I'm going to paint some of this back in here. And by changing the opacity, I can slowly kind of build up how this is happening and how strongly I can see this texture showing up and everything. And you can see it even just on the little mask here. Okay, now also a little keyboard shortcut here. If I press 0, it's going to go up to 100% opacity again. You can see there. Okay, if I press the number 4, it's going to go down to 40%. Press 2, it's going to switch to 20%. Okay, so we're going to be painting around. I want to tone this area down here. This is a little too intense here. And we could zoom in if we want to be a little more precise. Okay, maybe we want the texture to be more on the face, so we're going to, let's bump this up to like 90 here. You can see that's going to clear out this stuff right away. And maybe that's too much. Let's go to like 50. We'll switch back to white and we'll paint it back in. Oh, that's too much. Undo. Let's go down to 20, 30, 32. You can even type in numbers, right? If you do. I meant to go over to 20, but I did 30 and then 20 and then it just went real fast. Okay. So you can see the idea here that we can really apply these exactly the way we want. And by putting them inside this folder, this is the key idea here. We can take, let's disable this, and this, and this. Normal. What are we missing here? Oh, there we go. This whole folder, I just brought it down, no wonder. All right, we're going to take this and turn it into this. And by putting combining these things together inside the folder is going to allow us to tweak each of these things to change how this thing is looking, right? And like, let's just see what that's like. Let's go back up here and change the blending mode. This one was on color dodge, I believe. Oh, this isn't turned on, that's why. Hello. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, this isn't a bit crazy now, right? But this just gives us lots of ways that we can control how our image is interacting with our texture. Okay, and so that's the main idea here. Don't need to overcomplicate it here too much. Okay, whoa. Okay, so this is the nice thing about this program, this website, is that it's free. The not as nice thing is when you're using free software on the internet, you're subject to the internet. And let's turn this thing back on. We'll use it to tone down some of those areas. Yeah, I think that's it.